Check one. Check. Recording. Boom, boom, boom. Phone. Well, good morning, and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, I'm your host, Frank Hakem, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have a very busy morning. I know I say it every morning, but we have a very busy morning in store for you today. We're going to be finding out about the 100th anniversary celebration of Camp Gordon. That's coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. We have a lot of topics to discuss as well. We're going to start the program with kind of a hodgepodge, as we sometimes do, where I'm not really sure how to fit it all in, but they're all very important stories. So let's get right to it, as we already are at 3 waves at 6:01 a.m. on your Friday morning. First of all, I learned this yesterday at the Hill. There's a firestorm erupting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. The requirement of women to sign up for the military draft. Senate Democrats have added language to the annual defense authorization bill to require women to register for the draft, prompting a backlash from Republicans and social conservatives, and complicating the chances of moving the bill on the Senate floor before, yes, you guessed it, Election Day, because of the ramifications. Remember, it is June, so you're going to see a lot of games being played in Washington to make sure nothing can backfire on those running for re-election. Conservatives, led by Roger Wicker, are certain to attempt to remove the provision requiring women to register for the draft, which could present a tough vote for John Tester and Jackie Rosen, Democrats, in a tight re-election race. Republican candidate Sam Brown, who is running against Rosen, is already making it an issue in the Nevada Senate race. Now, Senator Josh Hawley called the provision requiring women to sign up for the draft insane. He accused the Biden administration of trying to implement a woke agenda at the Pentagon, and that has been something we've discussed on this program frequently. The woke agenda that unfortunately is causing kind of one congressman called it an epidemic of people not being recruited or recruiting and going into the military. There shouldn't be women in the draft, said Hawley. They shouldn't be forced to serve if they don't want to. He criticized Democrats for wanting to experiment with the military, saying normal people are like, leave our daughters alone. Wicker, the top-ranking Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee, said he'll try to strip it out of the bill. I'm opposed to that. I don't think this is a time to get into a debate on the floor of either house about that. We're not anywhere near implementing a draft, and to me it's a distraction when we need to be talking about real issues that are immediate, real issues like election. I'm not criticizing him, but that's really what this is all about. I hope it will fall out either on the floor or in conference. Now, Senate Armed Service Committee Chair Jack Reed, a Democrat from Rhode Island, defended the proposed policy change, arguing that women can hold many war-fighting positions without serving as front line. Women are doing a remarkable job in our forces today. If we were in a situation requiring a draft, I think we need all able-bodied citizen 18 and above. If we go into a draft, that means we're in a serious situation. It's not like World War II where we need a lot of infantry. We need cyber experts. We need intelligence analysts, linguists, etc. Wait a second. There are a lot of women out there that can do this better than men. What an interesting, very political answer, trying to paint the people that suggest maybe we don't force women into the military in the draft, to say that you're sexist for suggesting that. Just one of those things that we're not going to get into all the wonkiness of whether or not it'll actually go to the floor or be voted on, but something that I thought we should pass along to you this morning, because if you believe women shouldn't be signed up for the draft, apparently, I don't know, I guess the only way you can look at it is you're sexist. But again, I don't see much coming from this, could be wrong, before the election, because who wants to hang their hat on that? I don't think too many Democrat politicians want to, even though you put a nice spin on it. I don't think it plays in most districts. Okay, here's something that's terrifying. You know, I've been talking about, well, speaking of the draft, we've talked about the real threat of China, Russia, and Iran, and we saw North Korea and Russia meeting and making that deal where each would defend each other if there were any type of attack. There was an article that I saw today that maybe North Korea military could get involved in Ukraine. So there's this axis of evil, as is once called, but really a major concern that Washington doesn't seem to want to address or take seriously. And many have speculated, myself on this program, as well as many of our guests, that it's the money that is involved with the China market. That people, it's one of the reasons why everyone was so fearful to talk about the origins of COVID. And when I say everyone, I mean those in Washington, many in Washington. This I don't know, this scared nature. And that's why I've said, and I hope I'm wrong, but when China goes into Taiwan, I don't believe we will do anything. I know we said we will, but I think we've proven with this administration our weakness, and I think China sees that with the Afghanistan withdrawal, caving, when it comes to the strength that we had for Israel, et cetera, et cetera. I think China's watching that, watching the disruption at college campuses and on the streets, and really laughing. And here's another way that I believe that they are laughing, and this is coming from, and I believe it's an exclusive from the New York Post. China has been buying up strategically placed farmland next to military installations across the United States, raising national security fears over potential espionage or even sabotage. This has been in the works for a while. Not this article, though, good on the New York Post, but the conversation around this, that foreign entities buying up so much farmland in our country under the guise of farming. But here's the map, just to show you. I wanted, because I think it's important. I hope you can see it. There is the strategic Chinese-owned farmland in America, and you see the various military bases that it surrounds. The New York Post has identified 19 bases across the United States, from Florida to Hawaii, which are in close proximity to land bought up by Chinese entities and could be exploited by spies working for the communist nation. I'm not going to go through each of the military posts, but you see it there on your screen. I hope that's large enough that you can see it. These locations can be used to set up intelligence collection sites, and the owners can be influential in local politics, which is also a very important point, as we've seen in the past. It is alarming we do not have laws on the books that would prevent the Chinese from buying property in the United States. Under the guise of farming, the Chinese landowners could set up, spy installations, tracking technology, use radar and infrared scanning to view bases, or attempt to fly drones over them. A report in the Wall Street Journal from September of last year found Chinese intruders, listen to this, I don't know if you're familiar with this. I don't know if we've ever brought it up on the program. Chinese intruders attempted to breach military facilities over 100 times in recent years, including sneaking onto a missile range in New Mexico and scuba divers spotted near a government rocket launch site in Florida. So these obviously serve a purpose. This is not some quote-unquote conspiracy theory. The threat the Chinese government poses to America is huge, with the FBI labeling it a grave threat. And Director Christopher Wray saying in April, hackers have made their way into U.S. critical infrastructure and are waiting, quote, for just the right moment to deal a devastating blow and physically wreak havoc. Because, yes, a lot of this isn't the ground game any longer. It's a cyber warfare. And we talked about something which you may not even think about, which was one of the examples that were used, that they have hacked into such things as sewer systems, municipal sewer systems. And you think of the havoc that could wreak with certain shutting down of certain facilities. Something as simple as that. The Department of Homeland Security has also warned of the threat of Chinese spies slipping over the U.S. southern border, disguised as among the more than 30,000 who have already been admitted since October of last year. Yep, 30,000 already. These spies will likely employ economic espionage and seek to acquire our technologies and intellectual properties. The Chinese are or will, I should say, use the farmland to learn more about U.S. military capabilities, movements, and technologies. This will allow to better understand how to transition their military from a defensive strategy to not just be defensive, but to look into or be almost aggressive. Adding, they'll figure out how to move forces quickly for conflicts such as taking, Taiwan, and how and when U.S. forces would respond to their incursions based on troop movement at these bases. So they see how something like that would happen, what the troops would do in their preparation for taking over Taiwan. You can find the full piece. It's about 10 pages at the New York Post, and I don't mean to start your Friday morning with this major concern. Senator Ted Cruz told Forbes the Chinese Communist Party has demonstrated time and again they're willing to invest billions of dollars to expand their espionage capabilities and their global reach, including through land purchase schemes near military bases. The FBI has previously warned the Chinese government is engaged in a broad, diverse campaign of theft and malign influence without regard to laws or international norms that the FBI will not tolerate. Will they not tolerate? That's, I think, the major question. What will, specifically under this administration, what will be done? I don't see, and really in Washington in general, so many fearful of criticizing China because there is so much money involved, so much economic repercussion, because it's such a major market. So where does this lead? Again, I would highly recommend you read the piece for yourself. Mary Kay Jacob wrote it at the New York Post. It's kind of front and center this morning, or at least it was earlier this morning and late last night. But find it out for yourself. Just tying in what we've been saying for so long on this program, since nearly day one. Now, we've got to take our first break. Look at this, 6 waves already. Coming up a little bit later on, we're going to find out about the 100-year anniversary celebration of Camp Gorton. We've got a few quick things here about the anti-Israel protests. Not a lot. We also have a lot about, obviously, the debate coming up, less than a week away. We're going to take a look at that. Some new polling numbers, some new fundraising numbers. It's, again, I know we've said this a million times in the program, but polls are so biased and so deceiving. Because if you go to Drudge Report, and listen, full disclosure, I've been going to Drudge Report since probably the first radio show I ever did. It's quite a resource. But within the last few years, it has turned into almost a MSNBC type website, which is all anti-Trump. Well, if you look at the headline, at least again, when I went on the air this morning, Drudge Report says dismal, abysmal week for Trump in the polls. And I looked at it and they're one off from each other, well within the margin of error. But anyway, then you have another outlet that shows that Trump's winning handily in all the swing states, except for, what do they say, Minnesota. It's a statistical tie. Very interesting how polls can be misused, especially, keep in mind, as we are a week out, less than a week out from the debate, how those polls can be used. Also, well, because the polls can show Biden has momentum. And remember, the bar has been set low for Biden for performance. So we'll talk about all that in just a little bit. We're just getting started, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking, and we'll be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When this happens, you want your repair done right. Bring it to Nappies, or if undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappies has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappies, family-owned for 3 generations. Voted #1 auto body repair shop 17 times in the Twin Tiers.
Thank you for your business.
Insist on Nappies, auto body done right.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning. Couple comments from viewers already. I brought this to your attention weeks ago. I apologize. That is right. You did obviously bring that to my attention, meaning the real threat of China with the purchasing of farmland. And the comment continues, the Chinese put a windmill up with cameras next to an airbase, so they always have a connection to the electric grid. Thank you very much. Another comment from a different viewer. Thanks for cheering me up this morning. Yes, I know. Well, let's get the blood flowing before you head into work or you head into school. So, outrage as Manhattan District Attorney Bragg's office. Are they outraged because of the weaponization of the justice system? Sure. But they're also outraged because he must have been so busy dealing with those charges against Trump that they have dropped nearly all cases from Columbia University's anti-Israel protests. District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office has dismissed cases against 31 of 46 people charged with trespassing in the Ivy League school Hamilton Hall, the one that they took over in April. Prosecutors largely cited lack of evidence. Well, didn't stop them with Trump. Anyway, lack of evidence, such as security video footage that could tie the students or staff to the building takeover, for leaving them free and clear without even a slap on the wrist. So as we said, there needs to be repercussions. Why wouldn't these kids and agitators continue to do this? Because they know they're not going to be punished, and they're going to get all the likes that they wanted on their social media, and they're going to show that they're the ones that are the most anti-Israel and most anti-Semitic. So they get everything they want without any repercussions. This is turnstile justice, said Michael Nussbaum, a 25-year member of the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York. This is a green light for chaos, a green light for destroying property. It just encourages more of this activity. Again, why not go out with your friends and take over a haul because you know the media will most likely praise you and try to compare you to the Vietnam War protests, which is exactly what the media did. Manhattan Assistant District Attorney Stephen Milan said that prosecutors had trouble moving forward with charges due to extremely limited video surveillance that couldn't prove anything was damaged inside the building. Milan also told the judge the cameras inside Hamilton Hall were covered up during the police raid and that no cops were injured. Wasn't that the one, though, that a janitor was threatened? But listen, hey, if you want a checklist, just listen to the Manhattan Assistant District Attorney on apparently what to do if you don't even want to get a slap on the wrist. Didn't he just go through the list? Oh, here's another part of the list. Protesters wore masks during the demonstration, making it difficult to point out the specific antics of each individual. So the masks are working. And nothing, again, being done, as is no surprise. Several police sources could barely contain their disbelief. Lack of evidence, one said. Apparently body-worn cameras wasn't enough. We have a DA giving them what amounts to a mandate to push the envelope further now, fumed another veteran cop. Jeffrey Weisenfield, who served 15 years as a trustee on the governing board of CUNY, said, how can it be that you can't identify a single person? It's not acceptable. It's not good for the city. No, it comes as absolutely no surprise. There's absolutely no way Bragg wanted to bring charges against these people, because in many instances they're doing the work that the politicians don't dare or don't want to be involved in, but support. It is unbelievable. I'm not going to go through any more of that, the specific numbers, but that is just an update on something that we've talked to you for quite some time about. Continuing with that, and this is a two-prong article. Hochul should appoint a special prosecutor to combat anti-Semitic hate crimes. That statement coming from ex-governor Andrew Cuomo. Weighing in on this. Now, I do want to admit this is a few days old. It just came across my desk, so you may be aware of this. He referenced mask-hiding bullies who harassed Zionist Jews on the subway last week and the vandals who defaced the Brooklyn Museum director's co-op with a red triangle on the front door, a symbol that is widely used in Hamas propaganda, showing Israelis marked for death. Now, where was the former? Oh, he was speaking before 150 members of the Harmony Club in Manhattan Tuesday, a private Jewish-funded group. Back to giving speeches, so he is criticizing Governor Hochul for her response to the anti-Semitic hate crimes, all while giving a speech. So there's a couple different questions here that this raises. This is not a First Amendment issue. This is illegal. This is thuggery. It's menacing. It's criminal trespass, Cuomo said. Appoint a special prosecutor, and let's see what happens when you enforce the law. Well, let's criticize Bragg on that. They're not going to enforce the law. Listen, they're too busy getting Trump. They're too busy trying to get Biden elected through the weaponization of the judicial system. Cuomo knows that, but this gives him an opportunity to perhaps, test the water yet again for a future run, whether that's mayor, though this raises some red flags as he goes against the current governor, Kathy Hochul. The ex-governor said thoughts and prayers from politicians, whom he described as weather vanes, only go so far. You're never going to convince me with that. I don't understand why politicians, specifically Democrats, do that. Always criticizing the thoughts and prayers aspect to certain events. So critical, it's almost as if they get cringeworthy. They don't like to hear thoughts and prayers. You see it I'm sure you've seen it on social media. You've seen it when there's some type of tragedy where a politician will say, your thoughts and prayers aren't enough. And then Cuomo continued, do something. This is New York City. You can break the law, he said sarcastically. Anyway, a couple of questions there. What do you think Cuomo's going to run for? And I'm already running late. Why not? One more story in this vein. Remember Jamal Bowman pulled the fire alarm, is clearly on the side of the anti-Israel part of the Democrat Party. He is in a tight race, and it looks as if, when I say tight race, it really looks like this could be a member of the squad that's getting booted. And he has been, in many instances, like the pulling of the fire alarm, kind of an embarrassment, some of the statements he made. Do you recall when he suggested that the atrocities, the rape atrocities on October 7th were propaganda? Embattled squad representative Jamal Bowman apologized at long last this week for initially claiming that reports of rape and child murder during Hamas's October 7th terror attack against Israel were a lie. Now, do you think his apology is real? Or do you think he sees his polls and is willing to change his core beliefs at the drop of a hat because he is losing? Immediately when the United Nations provided additional evidence, so immediately and additional, Immediately when the United Nations provided additional evidence, I voted to condemn the sexual violence. I apologize for my comments, he said during an interview. Yeah, he's scratching gravel when it comes to poll numbers. He needs anything. So no, of course he doesn't apologize. He apologizes that it hurt him in the polls. As soon as I got the additional information from the UN, we condemned the sexual violence. We voted to condemn it, and we're continuing to do the work. What is that? It's such a throwaway political line. We are continuing to do the work. There was propaganda used at the beginning of the siege. There's still no evidence of beheading babies or raped women, but they still keep using the lie. That's what he said at the time on November 17th. But do you realize their race between him and George Latimer, both Democrats, primary? It is a record-shattering amount of money that is being spent on this House primary race. In ad spending, $23 million between these two. And it actually shows Bowman trailing Latimer from the most recent Emerson College poll by 17 points. Bowman down 17 points. So you'll see a lot of Hail Marys like this, realizing that when he was confident he would win, he could say what he truly believes. Now, not so much the case, and now it's time to start changing your opinion. We've got a few things here about immigration. Love to hear you weigh in on the topics of the day. We are running late. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
I'm Marianne Burt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie-cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with the no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
Getting aerial video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Coming up in just a little bit during the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program, we'll be talking to representatives from Camp Gordon about the history of Camp Gordon. All right. This is, man, I wish we could have a Friday morning show maybe just full of fun. That is not the case this morning, but it is important to pass along some of the news that you will not get elsewhere to start your morning. And this, again, coming from the New York Post, and we're going to tie it in, not tie it in, we're going to mention Rachel Morin's mom. So this is a lead into this because it's unacceptable. It's been said so many times how often this is happening. Migrants charged with the murder of a 12-year-old girl released into the United States just weeks ago. Police in Houston have arrested 2 migrants from Venezuela for the murder of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari, who was lured away from her home, then strangled and dumped in a bayou. I don't like to bring you these stories. As a matter of fact, we learned earlier in the week that mentioning these stories is fear-mongering, that we're actually supposed to just mention what Biden is allegedly doing to crack down, which is such an overused term and not appropriate whatsoever for what Biden is doing, a crackdown on the border. That's what you're supposed to be referencing. You're not supposed to talk about the crimes being committed, the public safety issues. One of the suspects crossed the border illegally less than a month before the shocking murder and was released into the U.S. And listen to this, and I use the term irony, was released into the U.S. after claiming he feared for his life if he was sent back to his home country. And we know that's one of the things that gets you that amnesty, because remember, this administration is very good at giving potential illegal migrants basically a how-to list of what to say. Department of Homeland Security sources said Pena Ramos crossed into El Paso on May 28th. He was released soon after his interaction with border agents. He told authorities that he planned to live with his cousin in Houston until his court appearance in July. The second suspect, I don't know how you say this, Rangel Martinez, crossed the border at El Paso on March 14th and was released with a court date in August. I'm not going to go into the specifics of the case, but it's yet another example. Tragic reading the quotes from her mother, her grandparents, and yet you have more amnesty programs coming out from this administration. No matter how often the polls show that the American people want something done about the open porous border, the Biden administration puts some window dressing out there, does absolutely nothing. One thing that we learned after Rachel Morin was called an individual, her name was not mentioned, called an individual by Mayorkas. Former President Donald Trump has called the mother of Rachel Morin, with the mother saying she was deeply touched by his honest compassion. And I know the media paints this picture of Donald Trump as this evil dictator, threat to democracy. But I recall this more frequently in 2016, where they had so many examples of this real compassion that the former president has for people. You know, they'd have some celebrities, they'd have others that were maybe dealing with something major, health issue, death of a family member, something to that extent, and he would call and check in on them. And that was a regular story, not in the mainstream media, but it was a regular story that even sometimes did slip through the mainstream media. They completely have gotten away from that. And so it does not surprise me when she says the honest compassion, because that has been the description of many of his phone calls through the years. No, he's not, as fallen soldiers are coming in, not checking his watch the whole time, as in the instance of Joe Biden. Patty Morin said, "I'm deeply touched by President Trump's kindness and concern. He was genuine and truly wanted to know how our family was coping. He asked about Rachel and showed honest compassion for her untimely death. His words brought comfort to me during this very difficult time." And remember, this comes off the back of when Mayorkas, while talking, and this was on CNN where he was doing it, when talked about Rachel's murder, said, in reference to Rachel, that individual. And if you recall, I mentioned Patty's statement at the time. It totally depersonalizes her and makes her an object. So you can see the difference. Well, again, this is not... It's just like what I mentioned when they said that we can't talk about it or it's fear-mongering. This is harmful to the Biden administration because of the failed policies of the Biden administration. So they don't... Mayorkas didn't want to address this. The various CNNs of the world and the MSNBCs, they don't want you to even talk about the crime because they know it has a harmful effect, because poll after poll shows that immigration is the number one concern for voters. So they want to sugarcoat it. They want to say he's cracking down. Toughest stance taken in years. Years meaning since he got into office and erased those through executive orders, through the swipe of a pen, erasing the successful policies at the border of former President Trump. So we've got so many more. Look at all these comments and waves coming in. I'll try to get to as many as I can. Keep them coming in. I, again, apologize that we have so many negative stories, but we are going to get to the debate. We are going to get to the presidential election because many of these tie in, let's face it, with the presidential election. I've got one that I think you're going to find really interesting because I know many of us have been upset that not only is the Biden administration ignoring the Supreme Court, which is a threat to democracy, never mind the kind of the tarring and feathering of the Supreme Court that we've been seeing by the media, but the Biden administration completely ignoring the Supreme Court decision and erasing school loan debt. And we said, well, it's a way to buy votes, especially at a time when young people are not happy with his policies, whether it's on Israel, calling him Genocide Joe, or because of the story that we had from you yesterday from the left, because the homelessness, because of the jobs, because of the economy. So we've talked about the school loans. When we come back, wait till you hear this story. A staffer for a Democrat congresswoman had his student loan debt canceled, and he celebrated it, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about it when we come back. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
When accidents happen, you want your repair done right. Bring it to Nappy's, or if undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations. Voted #1 auto body repair shop 17 times in the Twin Tiers.
Thank you for your business.
Insist on Nappy's Auto Body Done Right.
I've really been offered a beauty campaign when I was in my 20s or my 30s or my 40s. It wasn't until I was 48 years old when I thought that was way behind me. Here you come along and ask me to join you on this journey with Meaningful Beauty.
No matter what your age, now is the perfect time for beautiful, younger-looking skin with Meaningful Beauty. Join Ellen Pompeo and millions of women who use the age-defying super treatments that have kept supermodel Cindy Crawford looking so youthful for over 20 years. Look at Cindy's skin at age 31 and at age 52. There's hardly any difference, and it's doing the same for Ellen.
My skin looks better today than it did 5 years ago. That's a great feeling.
We can be such an inspiration to women to embrace aging and to celebrate it, to show other women this isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I am so passionate about Meaningful Beauty because I'm able to share with women everywhere.
So make the call or go online now and put yourself on the path to the most beautiful skin of your life. Trust me, it's worth it.
Meaningful Beauty is normally $139. You'll pay only $49.95 for all 5 concentrated super treatments. Plus, we'll include free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee.
And now for 2024 and beyond, be among the first 500 orders now, and we'll add Cindy's new Super Brightening Duo, a $120 value free. First, Cindy's exciting new Vitamin C Bi-Phase Brightening Oil with activated C technology that visibly increases firmness and elasticity.
Plus, you'll receive the Revive and Brighten Eye Mask, the celebrity secret that visibly smooths, brightens, and awakens eye areas to appear more alert and youthful. This is a limited time only special offer, only $49.95 for everything you see here. Call the number below or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Look at that beautiful view. Nearly looks like a painting. Welcome back. Okay, a couple comments from viewers. First one, I wonder how many Democrats will be fooled by the words when they have done nothing in terms of stopping crime and the like. And it's clear that their policies and thoughts and ideas what they really are. So the idea of, well, for instance, with Bowman, now apologizing. Or how many times have we seen a speech where a policy position has changed, like with Joe Biden with Israel? It's a very good point. They are only changing their tune to get the potential votes and will be dismissed and forgotten once elected. I agree. The same with the first story we brought to you this morning about the including women into the draft. They'll push that off because they don't want to face their constituents on the vote. Different comment from a different viewer, obviously a different comment. A comment from a different viewer, votes. That's why Trump makes calls. So Trump, if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, Trump called Rachel Morin's mother to get votes. Well, let me ask you, let's take this to the next logical step. Where are those votes coming from? Because it wasn't Donald Trump that released the statement about the call. You would not know about the call unless Rachel Morin's mother felt touched enough to release a statement, not knowing if that statement would go anywhere. But okay, let's say that is why he was doing it. I don't agree with that. But where are the votes coming from? So did you see that this morning about the call on any of the legacy mainstream media outlets? I saw it on the New York Post. Did Fox cover it? Maybe. I'm not aware. But did any of the other media outlets, let's say, is NPR this morning covering that call so it's going to win so many people over to Trump? And also I'd reference to back in 2016 before he was allegedly doing calls like this for votes. He was making calls throughout his whole career. It was something that, as I said, there was quite a few articles about it at the time, not, again, from the mainstream media outlets, but on maybe Fox News or some other outlets where you'd have, and I don't want to give exact names because I know there were some football players or maybe owners or coaches saying, well, when I was going through this troubling time, he called. And they had, it wasn't a new theory to get votes. It was just finally coming out. But I would love to hear more on your take on that. I just don't know where those votes are coming from. If it's Morin's mother that is actually bringing up the call and not the former president. Okay. Am I going to run late? Okay, I'm going to get here because I promised I'd bring this up. This is not really, well, it just shows you politics. It's not really a hard-hitting story, but I found this one so fascinating. As soon as I saw it, I wanted to bring it to you. So a staffer for a Democrat congresswoman went online. What's his name? Communications director. Ooh, he should have thought this one through a little bit better. I didn't realize that. Communications director Ben Kamens. He's Representative Marcy Kaptur's, Democrat from Ohio, communications director. He tweeted out, X'd out, just got a call to let me know my student debt has been canceled. This is why elections matter. Thanks, Joe Biden. Then he shared a picture of the form which read, congratulations, the Biden-Harris administration has forgiven your federal student loans in full. Wow, is that really... Well, I guess that proves the point that it is buying votes. That's what the form reads when you get your student loan debt canceled in June before an election. Congratulations, the Biden-Harris administration has forgiven your federal student loans in full. That's why Washington is such a bubble. If he's a communications director, he should have thought this through a little better. Number one, and listen, I was communications director for a very, very short time for 2 congressmen. I never, ever wanted the story to be about me. So this person made the story about them by tweeting that out, saying, hey, this is why elections matter. I just got my student loans forgiven. And then you see, it doesn't surprise me, but that's what the document says, is your student loans are forgiven. Yes, and we can go through the whole, well, what about I paid for mine? Why am I not getting any money? Or what about people that saved up? I know, we're not making that. We know what this but so he does that. Kamens had 8,200 $250 in student loans dating as far back as 2010. They were forgiven by the education department's Saving on a Valuable Education Plan, which is expected to cost taxpayers $475 billion over the next 10 years. Now let's find out a little bit about Mr. Capter, the communications director. And I'm not even talking about his boss. His boss was actually critical of this policy originally, but then voted for it. We're putting her aside. We're talking about this guy specifically because he wants you to know that elections have consequences. Thank the Biden and Harris administration for forgiving his loans of $8,250. Now, I'm sorry, his name's not Kapler's. His name is Kamen's. His boss is Capter, excuse me. So Mr. Kamen netted around $80,000 last year because congressional salary is online. Now, so he earned about $80,000 last year. In Ohio's 9th congressional district, which his boss represents, the median household income was $62,077. Others drew attention while looking through his past announcements on X or Twitter is that he was a Philadelphia Eagles season ticket holder. Now, just to put that in reference, that costs about $2,692 annually. So maybe forego the games, pay for your student loans yourself, and not ask me and not ask you to pay for them. National Review senior editor Charles Cook wrote, "No doubt the working people of America are thrilled to step in because despite having received the service you took out, the loan to buy, you couldn't be bothered to pay off $8,250 in principal in 14 years. Now, do you know what that means? That would have been $589 a year. He could not be bothered, but you and I can be bothered to pay." Greg Gutfeld said, "You're welcome, freeloader." Gerald Byers said, "This is why elections matter. It's quite a damning indictment of the way politics is currently functioning. We've gone from a revolution over taxation without representation to vote for those who will tax others to pay off my personal debts." And again, I don't want to go through what his boss, how she voted and all that. Just to show you a little bit why elections do matter, to his point. Boy, that was a bad communications director move. But think of that letter, too, that's what people are receiving. The Biden-Harris administration, ignoring the Supreme Court. I'm surprised it doesn't have a place to make donations for the campaign. Well, I hope he enjoys the Eagles games. Let's take a short break, see some comments coming in. Some waves, too. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We have a lot of comments to read. Frank, I spend hours each day listening to non-mainstream media. It will be a cold day in heck before I miss your show. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. And also, I thank you for watching your language. I appreciate that. Next comment, different viewer. There is no doubt that the Democrats are trying to buy votes again. The Supreme Court decided this was illegal, meaning the school debt forgiveness, and yet they still do it. What does the FEC do? And why aren't they stopping this blatant attempt to buy votes? Will the Supreme Court step in and put the Democrats in their place? A lot of questions there. I don't think anybody will stop in, especially before, especially before elections. And I also think the Supreme Court has a lot on their plate. And with this campaign by the media and certain politicians to discredit them, plant the seed for maybe stacking the court, I'm not sure. I'm not sure their mindset right now. Okay, here's another comment. You are so prejudiced against all Democrats. You are a follower of the cult leader. I assume that means Trump. I'm a Republican, but I vote who is the best. Okay. Fair question, or not really a question. Fair statement that you vote for who is the best. Is that Biden? Were you Nikki Haley supporter? This is where it's a little difficult as compared to the radio days where we could have a conversation over the phone. We don't have that capability here. So feel free to text me, whether it's the issue that I brought up with how is calling Morin's mother, how does that get him votes, number one. Number two, I don't think I'm prejudiced against all Democrats. I would argue if you look at the guest list here on the program, we've had a lot of Democrats on the show. And I would say that I would argue that during certain periods of this show, we've been more critical of Republicans than Democrats. In many instances, being disappointed in Republicans. As a matter of fact, I've gotten a lot of grief sometimes for that, but that's okay. I appreciate everybody's opinion. So, assuming the follower of the cult leader, I'm assuming that's Trump. I don't know who else it would be, but you're a Republican, but I vote for who is the best. Let me ask this question too, because I'm always fascinated by this, and you don't have to answer. We're just having fun here. I feel like some people are kind of contrarians, where they say, you know what, I'm an independent, and I'm voting for whoever. And it always seems like they always vote for one party, but they like to have that label of independent. In this case, I've known a lot of people like this, and I'm not saying you are one of them, viewer, but it's kind of nice to have the Republican label and then criticize Republicans to make it seem like you're above them in some way, above the fray. Would you say that's the case? Again, as long as it stays clean and it doesn't get too far out there, I try to read all the comments that come across our desk. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate you for watching. It's very kind of you. Okay, we have a couple other. This ties in. Do I have time? I don't. I've taken another break because we had so many comments. Keep them coming in. I appreciate everybody writing in, and we'll take another break. The last break of this hour. Boy, it's moving fast this morning. Stay with us.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
When it's the fun, it's what we do. See the Temptations perform hits like My Girl, Papa Was a Rolling Stone, and more. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com or at the gift shop. Tioga Downs Casino Resort. Fun is what we do.
Getting aerial video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
In a few words. Urkel, glasses. Nerd. It pays to know your nerds.
If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show,
25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5 and 5.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Akam, wrapping up the first hour of Frankly Speaking. Wow, it is moving fast. Another comment from a viewer. Missouri's Attorney General announced Thursday that he's suing the state of New York for alleged election interference and wrongful prosecution over former President Trump's hush money case. I saw that this morning. I was going to bring that up a little bit later on, but this is a perfect end to the first hour. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Andrew Bailey, the Attorney General for the state of Missouri, announced yesterday that he will be suing the state of New York for its lawfare against Trump. I'll be filing suit against the state of New York for their direct attack on our democratic process through unconstitutional lawfare against President Trump. It's time to restore the rule of law. We have to fight back against a rogue prosecutor who is trying to take a presidential candidate off the campaign trail. It sabotages Missourians' rights to a free and fair election. Let's see, is this, in the past, he demanded the DOJ turn over communications relating to the illicit prosecution of President Trump. This includes communications between the DOJ and the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and Fulton County DA, Fannie Willis. Thanks to evidence that has come to light, my office has reason to believe Biden's corrupt Department of Justice is the headquarters of the illicit prosecution against President Trump. So we'll keep an eye on that, see what happens in the future. All right, that does it for this hour. As I mentioned, during the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund section of our program, we'll be talking to representatives from Camp Gorton, celebrating 100 years as Scouts go to Camp Gorton. It's kind of interesting. I didn't know a lot about it as never having been a Scout. It'll be interesting to learn a little bit more about the history. Again, thank you to everybody waving and reaching out this morning. I should have prefaced this by the person saying that prejudice against all Democrats. When I suggested, if you're not voting for Trump but you're a Republican, you don't have to tell me any of that. Just wanted to have a fun conversation, a little bit back and forth. I like to hear all sides. And it's always nice to have someone disagree with me. I sometimes enjoy that more than the agreement. Sometimes. It's very heavy sometimes. We good on everything else? Yeah, I think so. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about I don't know if we'll get to the polling numbers. We are going to talk about fundraising efforts by Biden and Trump. We're going to talk about the presidential debates, what some people are speculating. I guess, as it nears, less than a week, I've been from the beginning wondering if it will all play out. Well, we're getting close. Maybe on Friday morning I'll be eating crow and it will have happened and we'll see what will have happened. Do you think that the media and Trump, here we go, one of the ways I'm critical of Trump, has set the bar too low? Do you think that Biden really needs to go in there with just a pretty standard performance and be praised by the media? What do you see? Let's start with some questions. I know it's less than a week away, so we have a little time. We'll be talking about it all next week. Speaking of which, Monday I will not be in, taking a vacation day, so I will not be in Monday, but we'll be talking about the debate the rest of the week, and you will not want to miss the Friday edition when we dissect what we saw the night before, because you may not want to stay up for it, and if you don't want to stay up for it, I'll be happy to do the dirty work, because I will. So it could be a groggy Friday morning. So as you know, if you're new to the program, you see that number on the bottom of your screen. You can reach out at any time. It doesn't just have to be comments on what we've been talking about this morning, though we've covered a lot this morning, a lot of different topics. From immigration to student debt forgiveness. We've received a lot of waves as well, and if you are new to the show, that's just a little fun that we have. You can text me a wave, or if someone walks by and they wave, we add it to the counter. I think our record, what was our record? I should keep track of it. I think it was 38 one day. But that was the day after the Trump verdict, so that was to be expected. Okay. There we go. Okay, wow, look at all these comments. We will read comments at the top of the hour. In hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. So stay with us, and we'll be right back. Mere moments away from hour number 2. I just got to remember what break this is. I always forget. There we go. We'll be right back.
Looks like y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water. You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
If you've regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, hour number 2. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and I did make a mistake. I made a mistake because the other outlets, they don't say they're taking a vacation day, and I've got to learn this. I'm new to the news. I will be out on assignment on Monday. Thank you for that comment. That made me laugh. All right, we got a lot of comments coming in. If you're just joining us, well, you got a lot of catching up to do. Okay, first off, the kind of having a back and forth, and I do appreciate that. Do you really believe that the Democrats stole the election? I'm not really sure that my opinion matters in that case. I think I've said quite a few times on the show, I think that the COVID rules at that time were really, the Democrats really used to their advantage. But again, as we had that comment the other day from a politician, I can't remember who it was, saying that we may not like the rules, but that's the way the rules were written, and we have to do a better job of playing by those quote unquote rules. Do I think there was some shady happenings? Yeah, I do, but I don't know. I guess you'd have to be more specific on what you mean by stole the election. I know in the past I haven't been as strong as some people on how far the stolen goes, and I know I've received some grief on that. So to kind of go after your last point that I am just completely prejudiced or something, I don't remember the exact wording. Sorry, and it's not to insult you. I just don't have it in front of me. So I think sometimes you maybe have labeled me something that is not the case, and maybe haven't seen all of the conversations. So I would love to hear your take on it. Was the election clean as a fresh-driven snow? Next comment. I'm hoping that Trump at least rehearses the debate with someone beforehand. Me too. They say that's not his style, that he kind of likes to be fresh, which I think there's a point to that. You know, this is going to be, you're going to say, how do these things connect? But Jackie Gleason, with one of the greatest shows of all time, The Honeymooners, didn't like to rehearse because he thought it took away from the freshness. But I don't want to tune in on Thursday and see an episode of The Honeymooners. So I think he raised a good point there. I would like to see some practice. I think he will practice some, but what that looks like, I'm not sure. Next comment. Frank, it's not surprising that anyone looking to get elected to a political position does things that they hope will get them votes. Of course, that's history. You're right. They can still be sincere with their compassion for someone's loss, which I think Trump is. It is also clear that while Biden may have compassion for their loss, they think it is more politically expedient to not reach out, which would put a light on their open border policy. What a great point, Ken. You couldn't have put that better. That's such an impactful way of saying that. Thank you very much. Thank you for these comments. Keep them coming in. All right, next up, we were talking about school loan forgiveness, and we were talking about the burden on taxpayers. John Stossel writes, "Pay up, America." Each of us owes $100,000 as national debt balloons to $35 trillion. That means every American owes $100,000. Biden administration officials don't care. They want to spend more. Already, they are spending so much that they are increasing our debt by $1 trillion. Wow. Already, they are spending so much, they're increasing our debt by $1 trillion every 100 days. Now, Stossel says here, keep this in mind, President Donald Trump was no better. His administration increased our debt by almost $8 trillion. This will not end well. And we talked about this yesterday about what this ultimately means. Now, I know a lot of that cost did come as well under the Trump administration from the pandemic, but I think it's fair to bring up what we're looking at. You now owe $100,000. So if you could get that to the IRS as soon as possible, we thank you. Let's talk about the presidential race. And please keep those comments coming in. We've had a good back and forth. There's, oh man, so many good comments. You guys are making the show a lot of fun this morning. So please keep them coming in. Biden rakes in quite a bit of money in his campaign war chest. In the month of May, Biden rakes in $85 million. But, and this might surprise you because it's not being covered everywhere, well short of Trump's $141 million fundraising haul. Both very impressive numbers, by the way. Think of that money being spent for this job. The Biden reelection effort now has $212 million in cash on hand, up from $192 million it had at the end of April. I don't know. Does it say here how much Trump has on hand? Biden's May total lags behind what Trump and the Republican National Committee said they brought in last month, a record-smashing $141 million. Now, a lot of that was because of the historic guilty verdict. We remember how much money was coming in the days after, where their website was actually shut down. After that verdict, $53 million in the 24 hours after the verdict was read, accounting for 37.6% of the total for that month. The Trump campaign has not released the amount of cash on hand. Well, there you go. There's your answer. Think of those kind of numbers. Forget about who you're supporting, Republican or Democrat. Think of that amount of money. And that's just for 1 month. Anyway. Now, how do you spin that to not be, if you want Biden to win, how do you spin that to not be a negative for Biden? Well, CNN, I think, attempted to find a way. Trump outraises Biden again. Okay, at first you're saying, okay, right. As billionaire donors unleash vast sums to shape the race for the White House. So now it's the bad billionaires. We know the media doesn't like billionaires. We know it's got to be some shady billionaires. It can't be, the historic guilty verdict. That doesn't come up in the top of the article. But I will ask you this. Would you ever, if Biden had, let's say Biden outpaced Trump in May. He beat Trump in fundraising. Would the headline at CNN read, and I quote, well, I don't quote, I fake quote, Biden outraises Trump again as billionaire A-list celebrities unleash vast, no, not say billionaire, as A-list celebrities unleash vast sums to reshape race for the White House. Would that be a headline? Or is it just you've got to say where that money's coming from, which I would, again, disagree with because of that verdict. President Joe Biden and the Democratic Party raised more than $85 million in May, his campaign said, trailing his rival Trump and the Republican National Committee for the second month in a row. Trump's political ambitions, meanwhile, received a huge boost in May with a $50 million cash infusion to a super PAC backing his campaign from Timothy Mellon, a reclusive billionaire and heir to a banking fortune who has emerged as one of the single largest donors in this year's presidential election. I will warn, if he is a reclusive person, I would warn Mr. Mellon, as I'm undoubtedly sure that he's watching this program, you will be a Koch brother if you continue to make these donations. You remember the hatred the media and the left had for the Koch brothers and how they were all the ills of politics. That's why they're calling him out right from the beginning here. The May haul by Biden's team marked the second best grassroots fundraising month for the president this cycle. Oh, that's great. So Biden is grassroots. Isn't that cool? But it fell short of the staggering $141 million that Trump and his political operation said it collected last month. Fueled by tens of millions of dollars collected in the immediate aftermath of his May 30th conviction in a New York criminal case for falsifying business records. Let's dissect that for a moment. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I didn't. That was not my intention. But let's dissect that a little bit. So the headline of the article at CNN by Frederica Schouten, David Wright, and Alex Leeds Matthew. The headline is that this money, quote, as billionaire donors unleash vast sums to shape race for the White House. So it's the billionaires. But then you go 3 paragraphs down after calling out one billionaire for making a donation to Trump, $50 million. But you go to the next, where then all of a sudden, wait a minute, it is people that were upset with the verdict. Well, that can't be the case because mainstream media is telling us that that's hurting Trump in the polls. So why would so many people give money after that verdict? But that's what happened. So they do kind of report on that. But Biden's donations are grassroots, the second best grassroots fundraising month for the president. So when we talk about the bias in the media, maybe I'll use the term, the prejudice in the media against Trump, that is a very fine example because it's not blatant. It is to perhaps you and I who have studied this. But to someone that doesn't necessarily pay attention, this is all at face value, just a regular article. And you walk away thinking, okay, all of Trump's money's coming from billionaires, especially if you don't make it to the third paragraph, where then it admits that a lot of money came after the guilty verdict, and that Biden's money coming from grassroots fundraising. Well, let's continue just a little bit. Biden's campaign said Thursday that the committee entered June with a massive $212 million cash stockpile. The Trump campaign has not yet disclosed cash-on-hand figures for all of its committees. Campaigns don't have to do so until next month, but Federal Election Commission filings late Thursday offered a partial picture showing Trump's main committee with more than $116.5 million in cash reserves, while Biden's main campaign account held $91.6 million. It underscores how much Trump's fundraising success in recent months has eroded the financial advantage Biden held for much of the campaign cycle. And that was a big talking point early on, where people are saying that the money's not there, Biden's destroying him in the war chest. The Biden team said its war chest is helping build a substantial campaign infrastructure and touted its hiring, together with the Democrat Party, of more than 1,000 staffers across battleground states. I'm not going to go through every quote from each group. The total announced Thursday by the Biden team doesn't include a recent spate of fundraising by the president. Over the weekend, he collected more than $30 million, a Democratic record, at a star-studded event. Star-studded event. How many times have we heard that the last week? Featuring former President Barack Obama and Hollywood luminaries, ooh, nice, such as George Clooney and Julia Roberts. So that doesn't even count that because that was in June. So maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe next month it will say Biden outraises Trump as Hollywood luminaries unleash vast sums to shape race for the White House. Maybe. We'll keep an eye open for that. Then it goes on. Oh, and that's another thing. If you want to say, no, okay, that wouldn't be in May. Okay, that wouldn't be in May. I was going to highlight the fact that Michael Bloomberg, prime example of a politically expedient, not having any core belief, a politician, very, well, I would say reminiscent of Romney, but in a different way. Michael Bloomberg was a Republican when he knew that would get him elected off the heels of Rudy Giuliani, who was very popular at the time as a Republican, as mayor. So he gets, then he's what, did it go Democrat, independent, or independent Democrat? Can't remember. And he was a Republican who wanted to ban everything, and it was a do as I say, not as I do. He can have trans fats, you can't. You remember it. He gave Biden $20 million. So again, billionaire Michael Bloomberg giving Biden $20 million. So we will see if next month it will say Biden outraises Trump as billionaire donors unleash vast sums to shape race for the White House. I will hold my breath. Keep those. Oh, okay. Keep these comments coming in. I try to read them as they come in. I've got so many to mention. Stay with us. Running just a tad bit late. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Consistently been corny.
It's time for a new mattress. Shop and compare Eye Comfort. Shop and compare Serta Perfect Sleeper. Shop and compare Beauty Rest. Shop and compare King Coil. Come sit and sleep in Corning. You won't find a better deal, guaranteed.
We live in an area full of beautiful destinations. Breathtaking mountains, rivers, trails, and waterfalls. Often hidden gems just waiting to be discovered. We would like to fuel your discovery this summer. Use our Quick Fill app to navigate to your next adventure and enter to win in our Fueling Discovery Summer Giveaway. No matter where, we'll get you there and proudly fuel the drive.
What could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day just by brushing your teeth. Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
Now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth. Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free. We'll even include free shipping. Call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
Saturday is Baseball Night in America on Fox. Matt Olson leads the Braves against Aaron Judge and the Yankees. Or the Brewers battle the Padres. It's Baseball Night in America, Saturday at 7 Eastern on Fox.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
We are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I nearly forgot. We've got our interview coming up in just a few moments. So let's read comments. We're going to get to some other issues as well. So many comments coming in. Thank you. Frank, does the caller, because if you're just joining us, we had a back and forth, a good positive back and forth, I think, with a viewer that said I was prejudiced against Democrats, even though I feel like there's times when the criticism of Republicans is so much. But anyway, does the caller think NBC, CBS, MSDNC, NPR, CNN, and the rest of the legacy media aren't in the tank for the progressive left? We need more Frankly Speakings to get the message out. Thank you. I appreciate that. Did you say this yesterday? This is a different viewer. Did you say this yesterday and I missed it, or are you repeating it? Before the debate takes place, someone needs to check and make sure Biden's likeness is still in the House of Presidents at Disney. Thank you for that. Another comment. I was thinking, this is the first time I've heard any of your listeners, quote, calling you out as you hold the Democrats responsible for their negative views about their colleagues on the other side of the aisle. Since you've started on television, I found it very refreshing to hear that you report the news in an unbiased manner. And if it sounds like you are calling out Democrats, so be it. Well, thank you. So many kind words. I really do appreciate that. All right. Moving along, because we just have a moment before our friends from Camp Gorton will be joining us. I had mentioned just quickly, former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg endorsed Biden and gives $20 million to his reelection efforts. Now, if you're not aware, Mike, I'm sure you are, Mike Bloomberg is one of the richest men in America. He said, I stood with Joe Biden in 2020, and I'm proud to do so again. Remember when Bloomberg tried to run for president? Whew, that was a disaster. That was something. All right, so we're going to talk about, I'm just looking at the time. We're going to talk about the presidential debate a little more in depth than we have been. I'll get your opinion on it. What do you think? What are you looking forward to it? Do you still think it's going to happen? So many questions. I mean, James Carville doesn't think it's going to happen. That was earlier this week, saying that Trump, I don't know, scared in some way, not going to show up. We do. I don't know if we're going to want to bring up polls or not, but we do have some polls. Did you see that? If you look at the new Siena College poll that comes out, you can find it in Empire Report. But Senator Gillibrand is vulnerable in this bid for her fourth term, as many New Yorkers saying she's missing in action. And if you look at the numbers in New York, listen, I'm not naive, but it's really interesting to me to see the numbers coming out of New York where Democrats are getting hit pretty hard by independents and fellow Democrats, not happy with the direction the state is headed. Now, Trump is within single digits of Biden in New York State. I, again, do not have any delusions. I don't think Trump will get New York State. Many disagree with me. Feel free to disagree with me. But just to be within sniffing distance is fascinating. And then when you saw the huge rally in the Bronx, it's, I don't know, some crazy times that we live in with what was once kind of normal in politics not being as normal any longer. So keep the comments coming in. We got our guests coming up now. And then after that, I'll read as many comments as I can. And I will also, obviously add your wave count there. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll be right back with Camp Gordon after this. Stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-781-9990 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-781-9990. 1-800-781-9990. Call now.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and this is the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund section of our program. I'd like to welcome our guest. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it, Frank.
We're talking Camp Gordon. Now, I was not a scout, so I'm going to pretend there's other people in this audience that aren't scouts as well. What is Camp Gordon, and what does it mean to the scouting community?
Well, Camp Gordon is this is the 100th anniversary of Camp Gordon being in existence, but really it's been around for 102 years. Oh. And Kurt will share more about the history of it. But Camp Gordon for the summer camp is the highlight experience for all scouts that attend, Cub Scout age, which are between first grade and fifth grade, and then Scouts BSA between fifth grade all the way up through senior year in high school. And it allows them the opportunity to earn merit badges, be able to participate in activities they don't normally be able to do in a regular troop meeting or Cub Scout pack meeting. And really it allows them to, all the Scouts, to be able to take what they've learned throughout the year and really synthesize it into a week-long experience that is usually the highlight of their scouting year.
Oh. Now tell us a little bit about the history, if you don't mind.
Well, the history of Camp Gordon really started around the same time as the history of scouting itself here in the States. Scouting itself started in 1910. The first troop in the Corning area was in 1911.
Oh, wow.
And then you had Troop 2 out of the Episcopal Church starting in 1916. Now, scouting was slowly growing, and then there was a meeting in Hornell in January of 22, and all these adults got together and they said, you know what, we've got all these scouts. We got to do something with them.
Yeah.
You know, just these regular meetings isn't cutting it.
Sure.
So they decided in January that they were going to have a camp that summer. So in just 4 or 5 months, they had put together a camp, and what they did was they located on the west side of Juanita Lake, land owned by a guy named Fred Playstead. He was a farmer. He said, hey, you can lease this waterfront field from me.
Wow.
And they got themselves a whole bunch of these World War I surplus tents, these big like cone-shaped tents, and they had a chuck wagon. People had donated rowboats or whatever, and that was the program. They were off and running. Now, that first year, they had a good turnout, more than they expected. But this next year, they said, you know, we really got to publicize this.
Sure.
So at the time, one of the big guys in the council was Emery Houghton, the ambassador.
Oh, of course.
He was quite young. Him and this Dr. Gordon got together and said, let's have a rally, a picnic rally.
Yeah.
And Gordon went around to all the fraternal organizations and said, look, we need your help getting people there because, you know, back in 1923, the roads between Corning or Bath or Hornell to Juanita Lake weren't that great. Not a lot of people had cars. And so they had all these organizations bringing people. They had guest speakers coming down from Rochester, circuit judge, and so on and so forth. They ended up with over 1,800 people.
Wow.
So they said, this isn't going to cut it. This field, it's nice, but forget it. So at that point, Houghton raised about $1,300, and Gordon donated 3 acres. Houghton bought through the council 5 acres, so they had this 8-acre plot on the east side of the lake where the point is, and that's where camp is now. And it just kind of grew from there. Over time, they had people donating the dining hall, the Elks Club in Corning, Bath, Hornell all got together. They donated and built the first headquarters building, and it just ran.
Yeah.
And it just continued to grow. You know, their first inspection was in 1928. That's when scouting really said, hey, we've got all these camps, we've got to do something.
Right.
And they got an A.
Oh.
And, you know, around that same time, the ambassador, well, he was ambassador at the time, turned to his father, Alston Houghton, and said, hey, you know, Dad, we need this nature lab. What can you do for us? And his, you know, Alston Houghton said, tell you what, he says, I'll pay for it, but Ephraim Lawrence, who is this world-renowned naturalist from professor at Cornell University, he says, I want Ephraim to design it. Wow. So he designs this laboratory, and they build it. You know, Houghton paid for it, and at the time it was ranked as the best nature laboratory of any camp in the country.
Wow, amazing.
And we still have it today.
Yeah.
And things have just continued to grow over the years. And Houghton himself got more and more involved. Not only did he become national president, but he went on to get international awards. He got awards from, you know, the highest awards from England and not here in the United States, Chile, and then scouting's highest international award, which was the Bronze Wolf. So, you know, scouting itself has had a huge history in the Corning area. We're one of the few areas that I don't know of any other place that has had 2 national presidents. We had the Ambassador Houghton, but we also had Dr. Tom McAvoy, who was president of Corning back in the 80s.
Wow.
So it's
Well,
quite a history.
And you mentioned 1928, which is perfect because I happen to have that picture that I showed you earlier. How has the camp changed since 1928, other than the few things you've already mentioned?
Well, the dining hall has changed. We actually tore down that dining hall in after the summer of 1998 and built a much larger dining hall that could seat up to 400 people inside of it now. But not only that, we've expanded the program areas that we had back in that time period, where it was mostly central around what we call the parade field today. But now we have 7 different program areas for scouts to be able to participate in a waterfront area that has not only swimming, instructional swim, but also a variety of different opportunities with paddleboarding, rowing, canoeing, kayaking. Also learning how to drive a motorboat and water ski or wakeboard. We have a shooting sports area, which is phenomenal, that has not only teaches archery, rifle with 22, shotgun, 12 gauge, 10 gauge shotguns, but also has action archery program. It has a cowboy action, which allows for pistol shooting as well as black powder, and also there's a ski field there too. So. And there's other program areas as well: fishing, knot tying, fire building, etc.
You can see why this is a favorite event every year for the Scouts. That is amazing. Now, you mentioned 1911 here in Corning, so there is that rich history. What does scouting in the Twin Tiers look like today?
Well, scouting really took a hit during the pandemic because take away the outing in scouting, and it really limits what exactly you can do. But over the past couple of years, scouting has actually started to build back up from the numbers that we had that we lost during the pandemic, and continually growing as a matter of fact. In terms of the Corning area, there's multiple packs or Scouts BSA troops that scouts can join. Like I said, if you have a young boy or daughter, it's opened up to boys and girls actually starting in 2018 and 2019. So that gives an opportunity to join all the way from kindergarten through senior and high school. And really the focus of scouting is learning character, citizenship, physical development, and leadership. And the skills that I learned in scouting as a scout, Kirk can probably attest this to, we use in our regular everyday lives and our professional lives.
I'm sure. Now, you mentioned that when they originally came up with the idea for Camp Gordon, it was about 4 or 5 months to get this up and running. How long has the celebration for the 100th anniversary been? Longer than that?
It's taken us about a year and a half to really get everything under control, and it's gone through multiple shifts and so on and so forth, but I'm very excited. We're seeing a lot of people that were camp counselors in the 60s and 70s are excited to come back.
Oh, sure.
We have a gentleman that was waterfront director in the 70s, and he wants to get together other people that were on staff with him to do a special skit at the fire, at our campfire during the day. So it's building a lot of momentum. And, just like any scouting event, nobody registers early. They always wait till like the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah. So you have no idea what to plan for. It's July 13th, the 100th celebration of Camp Gordon. What are some of the events that are planned around that day?
So we're going to give camp tours and show what exactly camp looks like for a lot of people who may have not been there since the 1980s or 90s. It does even look significantly different with obviously the large dining hall, but also shower house building and main bathroom that we made in 1999, as well as the waterfront lodge, which has 4 different apartments that sleeps up to 16. And that building is used not only for summer camp, but also year-round rentals as well. And that's something else I'd like to highlight, that camp is not just for scouts. It can also be rented out for outside groups as well throughout the year, and it's used nearly every single weekend throughout the year, or can be used during the week as well. We're also going to have a dinner. We're going to highlight give out some awards, open up the time capsule that was opened up, I think, the last time in the early 1980s or late 70s, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
And seeing what items are in there, adding to that for the next time it's opened up. But probably the highlight for summer is going to be the softball game that's going to happen, the campfire that's going to occur. So
that's always been during camp week. Softball games on the parade field are just, great way it's a pickup game. A great way for the scouts to burn off some energy.
Of course.
And it's exciting. And as George said, the camp has grown. We're at about 340 acres. lots of trails for hiking, and just the opportunities are endless.
So is this event just for former scouts, or can anybody attend?
Anybody in the community is more than welcome to come, or if people have any questions about using camp throughout the year, they can contact our Scout Council. If you go to fiveriversbsa.org, you can actually get our contact information and find out how exactly to experience the magic of Camp Gordon throughout the year or at summer camp.
And is that the best place to RSVP as well?
That is, yep.
Okay. So just before we go, someone who has never been, how would you explain how special it is to the Scouts for Camp Gordon?
Well, Camp Gordon has always been one of the finest scout camps in the Northeast. They've done a phenomenal job over the years of taking care of it, and it really shows. If you go to any other scout camp and then visit Gordon, you will see the differences. And it's just the character of the people that have gone through there. Our former ranger really would say it best. He would say, when scouts come in, "Welcome home, Scout."
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Once you've gone there for a week,
yeah,
it's like going home. And if you've been on staff, it even means more so. So
Sure.
that's why we're getting such a great turnout for this event.
So again, the event, July 13th, the 100th celebration of Camp Gordon. Thanks so much for being on the show this morning, and good luck with all the planning as it nears.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. Stay with us.
New vehicles are in-house and on display with more on the way. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, visit Elm Chevrolet. Search Elm Chevrolet's entire new vehicle inventory at elmchevrolet.com. Together, let's drive.
I'm Marian Burt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Great drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Just look at the difference. Look, ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99. But wait, Angel View may be discontinued. Due to rising costs, Angel View is stopping manufacturing effective immediately. Once the current inventory is gone, it's gone forever. Order now.
Call 1-800-897-0371 or visit getangelview.com. Order now.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud. 7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. Your teams, your highlights, your scores. Get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
Stream your teams live. It's free with your pay TV subscription.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you to our guests for being on the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. A few more comments here. I was thinking that Biden may test positive with COVID right before the debate. Then we would hear they will reschedule, but they never do. Interesting. Interesting take. I am correct in saying there are only the two debates lined up. There doesn't seem to be any indication there'll be more than two debates. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year for that. Another comment from a viewer. Michael Bloomberg donating and endorsing Biden's campaign, donating $20 million. So this viewer says, so then the media is saying Michael Bloomberg is one of Biden's grassroots supporters. Well, to your point, they call Every Town for Gun Safety, the anti-gun organization, a grassroots organization, and it is completely funded by Michael Bloomberg, billionaire Michael Bloomberg. So yeah, why not? Keep with tradition. Thank you for the comments. Keep them coming in. The debate right around the corner. At CNN, who for whatever reason, we've been quoting a lot of CNN, maybe to show a little bit of bias here, but presidential debate, the Biden-Trump face-off is anything but a rerun, according to Steve Conterno and Jeff Zeleny. When I say showing bias, sometimes their articles, as I mentioned with the fundraising hall, are a little bit questionable. But to voters in Wisconsin this week, Trump delivered a stark warning about an unstable world and, in his view, an unstable Biden presidency, saying, we're going to end up in World War III with this person. He's the worst president ever. He delivered a stark... Did it take Trump to deliver a stark warning that the world is unstable right now? And in his view... I like those lines. A new Biden ad minces no words about Trump's May conviction on 34 felony counts. Quote, this election is between a convicted criminal who's out for only himself and a president who is fighting for your family, the narrator declares. The competing messages not only crystallize the theory of the case for the two rivals, but underscores just how much the country, the world, and yes, the candidates themselves have changed in the past 4 years. Well, definitely the world. That's undeniable. From a violent insurrection, they just throw around insurrection now, and the lingering fallout over election integrity, to a new fight over abortion rights after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, to Russia's war with Ukraine and boiling turmoil in the Middle East, to the very stark question of America's role in the world. The 2024 campaign is about very different things, despite the same candidate's name on the ballot. Interesting, they don't mention the withdrawal from Afghanistan. For all of those distinct issues and more, the economy and immigration consistently rank among the chief concerns of voters. And inflation, a challenge that has complicated Biden's economic argument, is sure to be at the center of it all. Did you see? And so this is just a kind of quick overview from CNN. A narrator in an ad for Biden, and this is continuing this piece, said 4 years ago we were shut down. Stadiums were empty. Trump failed us. But then Joe Biden took over. This is very much reminiscent of what Nancy Pelosi said, too, suggesting almost in a way that Trump was responsible for the pandemic. When we're shutting down stadiums, isn't that more of a Fauci thing? Wasn't that, follow the science? So is, I guess, Biden taking credit for the huge strides we made under the Trump administration during the pandemic? It's really, again, going back to what a viewer said earlier about, do voters believe the words that are all trying to get elected? In this case, does that work? I would love to hear from anybody. If you say, yeah, that's right. Because when I think of 4 years ago, or when I think of the Trump presidency, I do think of peace. Well, the world wasn't on fire like it is today. Prosperity, we were all doing better with our 401ks, our savings accounts, our jobs. Inflation, it wasn't, still not necessarily the best experience in the world, but going to the grocery store was not heartbreaking when you received the final cost of your groceries. So that's why they have to, because they can't run. And this was something we brought up yesterday, where Democrats are concerned about Biden's messaging, just like they were with Bidenomics. It seems like he has maybe some people around him that aren't the best at messaging. That I guess because what the anonymous sources were saying is they want Biden to tout what he can do for the American people, because American people are suffering right now. What he can do instead of just criticizing Trump. And that goes to show you that line there, that they don't have the messaging to show what they can do. Because it's not proven, just like at the border. They can say whatever they want. People see it. They can say whatever they want about inflation, but people experience it. So they have to go after get Trump. A Republican okay, I shouldn't say it. Am I going to say this? When you hear a Republican strategist who worked on Mitt Romney's 2012 presidential campaign, and this is not to criticize this person specifically, does that raise red flags for you? Do you maybe say, I don't know if I want to follow this advice? I don't think it's bad advice. Brian Barlett, I don't think it's bad advice. That to me is something I'd say, could you leave that on my resume? But that's not fair. Trump will want to position himself as the alpha and the more active, energetic, in-control candidate. Somebody who is healthy and has vigor. We'll have to see if that side-by-side matches reality. If Trump is making those points, but Biden is having a good night, that won't land well. Brett O'Donnell, a Republican strategist, who has spent years preparing candidates, including Trump rivals, for debates. That's a better way to put it. Trump rivals could mean, someone you don't like, but we don't need to know. That's the challenge for President Trump, to stay out of his way and force Biden to defend the record of his last 4 years. That's what a lot of people have been saying. I'll continue. The challenge for Biden is to actually get under Trump's skin and to make him interrupt and remind folks of some of the qualities that they find less endearing. And I think there may be a point to that. We've talked about this where we don't want, or many of the viewers said, but myself included, to have it turn into one of the to get Trump angry. If Trump can stay on point and talk about the last 4 years, 3.5 years, talk about the president, it's a win. If Biden tries to get under his skin, which is probably going to happen if he brings up convicted felon, or if he brings up January 6th, or he brings up the election being stolen, Trump can go in that direction, and I'm not sure it plays as well as just focusing on the failures of the Biden administration. What do you think? We're getting a lot of comments, great comments this morning. Julian Zelzer at CNN says the sad truth about what really matters most at the debates. And his suggestion is it's just the zingers, or if a candidate has an awkward gaffe. You heard my thoughts yesterday, most likely. I hope you did. I think CNN will be very prepared to protect Biden. So if there is the kind of the Juneteenth celebration staring off, or if there is a kind of a fumble in what he's saying, they'll go, oh, it's time for our commercial break. Sorry, Mr. President, we'll be right back. Or if it's a stare off in the camera, they'll switch instantly to the moderators. I think that is, I want to say accepted. I think that's to be expected. For years, we've heard from both Biden and Trump in speeches, news conferences, and interviews. Little of their biographies or their policy views will come as a surprise to anyone. But when they get into the debate studio side by side, the way they aim zingers at each other and any verbal stumbles that result will stand out, potentially making or breaking the candidate on the national stage. Let's take another short break. We'll be right back. Frankly Speaking, weigh in. What are you expecting from the debate? Oh, are we actually good? My math might be off. I think we're good. I hope I'm right. Let's keep talking. Let's you and I keep talking. I'm actually kind of surprised by this from Stephen Collinson. We mentioned him a lot at CNN, but he has an opinion on Biden attacking Trump's character. The ad that we mentioned earlier, the convicted felon, which we know was the ultimate goal of the trial, is to get that convicted felon label and bonus level if they can get some prison time and keep him off the campaign trail, and we'll know that on July 11th. But Stephen Collinson said the president and his campaign are blasting Trump as a criminal and a racist who was found liable for sexual assault and who is now being driven so crazy by his loss in 2020 that he's been left unhinged. It's one of the most searing portrayals in the modern age by an incumbent president of his challenger, and is designed to define the 45th president as flagrantly unfit for a return to the office he left in disgrace in 2021. With his 2 impeachments, a criminal conviction, and an attempt to overturn the last election, Trump gave Biden plenty to work with. So you go, okay, man, this starts off pretty CNN-like. But Biden's strategy may also tell the story of a re-election campaign that is going nowhere near as well as the president must have hoped, as he battles diminished standings across swaths of the electorate and faces a dauntingly narrow path to the 270 electoral votes needed to win in November. And that is an interesting theory. I think that is the optics of it, just like when we talk about the optics of the incumbent president calling for debates, and especially a really, really early debate. It looks like a sign of weakness, a sign of, we're not doing as well as we want to be doing. And there's also a little bit of ego there, for lack of a better word. They're in their bubble, and in their mind, well, Bidenomics must be working. These voters must believe me when I say we're cracking down on the border, even though they're seeing that we're not. Now, they must believe the economy's good because I tell them it's good, except for we go to the grocery store. So there's a little bit of confusion there why they're just not, it's not 99% Biden, 1% Trump. So they call for debates, which come off looking as a sign of weakness. And the same here. This idea that this is who they're portraying Trump as is a sign of weakness. For months, Biden's team has argued that when the choice between the president and his predecessor became clear to voters, the stakes of the election would shift the political equation in his favor. The theory was that voters were slow to tune into the race and that they may need reminding about the chaos and the discord of Trump's first term that ended in the worst assault on democracy in generations. So Stephen Collinson staying true. He doesn't want to lose his job. Staying true to his word, his bias. That's why, though, to his point, I do believe that they are going to do the best they can to get under Trump's skin and hope they get him off on kind of a tangent at the debate. But it's now midsummer and the election is less than 5 months away. There's every sign the race is still shaping up as much as a referendum on Biden, and a weary populace lost sense of economic security and is on the threat to the rule of law that Trump is making clear a second term would entail. He has not made that clear. That is garbage. But the American people are suffering, and the Biden administration wants to focus on January 6th. We heard yesterday that is going to be the main focus until November. January 6th is going to be into November. So does that work for the person on the fence who has trouble paying their bills? Thursday debate will also represent the president's opportunity before tens of millions of television viewers to counter the bleak caricature sketch Trump is conjuring of him. The ex-president portrays his rival as a doddering incompetent who can't make it to the end of a sentence. The picture is exaggerated, but polls show that most Americans worry about the age. Okay, this is kind of that cheap fake idea, and Stephen Collinson is doing his job there. That's, what he's trying to do is, Stephen Collinson that is try to say, well, Trump's painting the picture that Biden is doddering. Again, never mind what you're seeing with your eyes. Never mind seeing, what you're seeing daily. That is so interesting to me that they're blaming that on Trump. It's like when Republicans pounce. Again, you see it with your own eyes, but what Stephen Collinson is saying here, and if you read between the lines, is the bar has been set low for Biden, and the media is going to continue to push that bar being set low. Because what he's saying there, well, Trump's saying he's a doddering incompetent. So if he gets out there and has a performance, and then, as you've heard, my somewhat fake headline, but one that you can see that no matter how bad the performance is, as long as there's a little bit there from Biden, they can say he comes out when it mattered most. Like the State of the Union, greatest performance of his career. But now we do have to take a break. We have some other comments we're going to read. Some more waves coming in. Nope. Okay. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox wrapping things up.
Attention. This is an important message for firefighters, members of the military, and airport workers. For decades, first responders and firefighters at military bases and airports used a chemical-based foam to fight fires. Studies have shown that chemicals used to make aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, are highly toxic to humans and have been associated with several types of cancer. If you or someone you know was diagnosed with any of those cancers, call now for a free case review.
Your Alma Pioneers are back at historic Dunn Field Thursday, June 20th, Friday, June 21st, and Saturday, June 22nd. Thursday, June 20th, it's Thursday Thursdays, $2 beer night. Friday, June 21st, it's free Hilliard baseballs. And Saturday, June 22nd, it's free Hilliard Thunderstick. Get your tickets early. Call 607-734-2690.
The Bucks website is
It's here, now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news, here, now. WYDCTV.com.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, wrapping up this morning's edition. I cannot thank you enough for, number one, tuning in. Number two, for all the great comments and the back and forth this morning. Here's one last comment. Well, maybe, unless you get something in before. Hi, Frank. My buddy Tom says you need a haircut. Keep up the good job. Does that mean keep up the good job on not getting a haircut? Because that's easy. Does it mean keep up the good job on the show? Well, that's actually easy, too. Thank you for the comment, and thank you for the concern over my haircut, the length of my hair. I appreciate that. I mentioned this quickly at the beginning of the show, and I know we go through some things quick at the end of the program. Senator Kristen Gillibrand, I was trouble with her first name, that one, vulnerable in bid for fourth term as New Yorkers say she's missing in action. Senator Gillibrand appears vulnerable as she seeks a fourth term. Only 42% of voters support Gillibrand's re-election in the deep blue Empire State, while 42% prefer someone else and 16% were undecided. Now, before you get too excited, that 42% that want someone else probably want a Democrat, but that's not going to happen. While 62% of Democrat voters backed Gillibrand's re-election, only 32% of registered independents support another term for the junior senator, while 46% preferred someone else. Now, her Republican opponent, retired New York Police Department Detective Michael Sapercone, said the findings show he has a shot to topple Gillibrand. As I travel the state, I hear valid concerns about crime, illegal migrants, and the economy. And every New Yorker, no matter their party, says Gillibrand is missing in action. Gillibrand has condoned the policies that are destroying our state and nation, failed her constituents, and then disappeared, says Sapercone. Now, Gillibrand ran in 2020 Democrat primary for president, but dropped out early after garnering, they say, scant support, nearly no support. Does New York even have a junior senator? Miss Gillibrand vanished from the public eye after being torched in the 2020 presidential primary. That's actually kind of a good point. And few have seen or heard from her since, said Conservative Party Chairman Gerald Kaiser, who backs Sapercone. Also on the New York front, just some interesting numbers. Like I said, Trump within a single digit of Biden. There's a lot to be worried about, says Politico, if you're a Democrat in New York, according to Siena College poll. The figures indicate trouble for the party's chances of retaking the House and for Governor Hochul, who plans to seek re-election in 2026. Today's poll numbers show that Hochul's favorability rating is lower than it's ever been, a gloomy 38%. Her job approval is also the worst it's ever been at 44%. And President Joe Biden is only beating former President Donald Trump by 8 points, a far cry from the 23-point victory he boasted over Trump in 2020. Yikes. Now, you got to look at that, too, what that means. If that's in New York, what's that mean in other states? Just something to keep in mind. Deeper in the data is another set of numbers that spell trouble for Democrats. Come November, independents and others not enrolled in either major party, like former Green Party or Libertarian voters. It's the second largest voting bloc in the state at about 3.4 million votes, more than Republican, Conservative, and Working Family Party voters combined, and they're not happy with Democrats. We used to have Democrats here, Republicans there, and independents would be somewhere in the middle. Now you look at a lot of the questions, what you see now is independents are much closer to Republicans than they are to Democrats. Interesting. So there you go. We are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to our guests telling us about the history of Camp Gordon. Really appreciate that. That was an interesting piece. We like to show about our community, show what we're all about here. As you know, if you've been watching the program for any amount of time, it's about community. It's about getting involved. And that's why I thank you for all the comments and for all the waves. I really do appreciate it. As always, you see the number on the bottom of your screen. You can continue to contact me over the weekend. As I said earlier, and thank you for the correction. Thank you for correcting me. I'm not taking a vacation day. Will be out on assignment on Monday. You'll never see the benefit of what that assignment was, though. It will not appear on the air, and you'll wonder weeks after, I wonder what that assignment was. Well, I'll be out on assignment on Monday. So you have a fun, safe weekend, and we will see you Tuesday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. See you Tuesday morning. I look forward to it already. Have a great weekend.
Getting aerial video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to